Here is a simple demonstration of the WebID and OpenID hybrid protocol. What I'm going to use for this demonstration is a WebID generated from my own personal data space. So there's the address of my personal data space. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually log into my own data space using my WebID. I click on the padlock here, which is my SSL login indicator, and I'm challenged by my data space to provide verifiable identity via a certificate that also includes my WebID. So what I'm going to do is pick the appropriate certificate from this list of certificates hosted in my browser. Now, as you can see, this was issued by me. It has a validity period and a whole range of other relevant bits of information. Now, if you look down here, you'll notice that I have the option to remember my decision. I'm going to hatch this checkbox because I don't want to repeat these challenges as I log into other spaces on the web. So here we go. I simply click OK here, and the authentication process completes, and I'm in my data space. So here's a very quick look around, a few applications that I've enabled in my data space. There are many more, but for a different demo. So we have bookmarks, a calendar, a briefcase, etc. Now, what I'm going to do is actually log into a totally different web application. So I'm going to a totally different data space on the web where I have an account. But in this particular case, the place is Stack Overflow. Now, when I click on the login button here, Stack Overflow gives me the option to log in with my OpenID. Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting. What I'm going to do is pick my OpenID URL. But if you notice, this URL is also the URL associated with my personal profile. And so when I click on this particular link to log in, this is where the magic of OpenID combined with WebID comes into play. I simply get logged in. No username or password-based authentication. That's it. I'm in. But let's make it a little bit more interesting. So let's take a look at Identica, yet another data space on the web. Now, what I'm going to do here is I will log in the most conventional way, a username and a password. And now that I'm in my Identica data space, what I really want to do is simply associate an OpenID with my Identica account. So I'm going to type that in. Again, make sure it's the correct ID, which this isn't right now, so I just type in person. So now I have my full OpenID URL, which again also is the URL of my structured profile, which is based on the full vocabulary. So I simply add that OpenID URL, and if you notice, Identica authenticates and verifies this particular OpenID, but once again, I wasn't presented with a form, and I haven't typed in any username or password combination. But there's one more thing. So I'm going to log out. And When I log back into Identica, rather than using my username and password combination as I did in the prior step, I'm going to take the OpenID route yet again. Yet again meaning, remember when I went to Stack Overflow, I took the OpenID option. I'm doing exactly the same thing here, but I'm using Identica. I have, again, my OpenID URL, which is also my full profile URL. All I do is click on the login button. Authorization occurs. I never type in a username or password. What I've demonstrated here is the single most important component of any technology that seeks to use the web or leverage the web when creating personal linked data spaces. We need to be able to log in across data spaces using a single web ID or several web IDs, all controlled by one individual, you. Thank you.